Hello there. Welcome to the San Diego Union-Tribune Festival of Books Meet the Author Q&A series. I am Steve Breen, the editorial cartoonist at the Union-Tribune, and I am joined here today by Ziggy Marley. Ziggy is an 8-time Grammy Award-winning singer, author, philanthropist, reggae icon. And besides being a legendary musician, he's written 3 children's books, and he's releasing his 4th book, My Dog Romeo, which we have right here. The book was illustrated by Ag Jatkowska, and it's a playful and endearing tribute to his beloved dog Romeo. And the book is sure to become a storytime, bedtime favorite. And it really is a great, cute children's book. We'll get into that in just a sec. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about creativity and books and music with Ziggy Marley. So Ziggy, welcome.
Yes, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's back up a little bit before My Dog Romeo.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit. We all know you as a musician, so tell us a little bit about kind of getting into children's books.
Well, it stems from the music, right? The songs are right. My Dog Romeo in particular is taken from a song from my latest children's album, and the album is called More Family Time. I mean, I've always been a good writer. Even in school, in high school, I was very good at English language. And so I was always writing stories just for myself, really. And then a few years ago, we did a children's album called Family Time, and we turned one of those songs into a book. The song was called I Love You Too, and that became a book. And I just find it, for me, interesting to continue to be involved. And I have young kids, and my youngest is 5-year-old, so it's just very fulfilling and interesting to me to keep being creative in the space of where children can interact with what I do, you know?
Yeah, and I do children's books too. I've done a few, but I don't know if you're like me, but I had no real connection or interest in doing a children's book until I had kids. Were you the same way?
Yeah, I mean, when we say children's book, let me just make it clear, because in some ways, and I've always been like, I've always had a child mind.
Yeah. So, a lot of creative types. A lot of creative types do.
Yeah. So my imagination, I mean, yes, children's book, but it's coming from an adult imagination. So it's like that child mind that we have inside of us. I've always had that, and I've always found it interesting to explore it. Even before I put out a book for children, I was doing crazy stuff that maybe some other person my age might be like, yo, that's childlike. But for me, it's very interesting.
Yeah. And you know, songs are works of art just like books are. And you know, you could look at a song as if a lot of songs, it's their own little story, you know, the little teeny 2, 3, 4 minute story. So this book here, My Dog Romeo, is super cute.
Yeah.
And it comes out in July, right?
Yeah.
And tell us about how you hooked up with the illustrator. Did the publisher put you two in touch, or was this a friend of yours?
Well, we had the first time 4 or 5 years ago, or whatever it was. She had worked with us before, and I really liked her work. And so she's in Europe. She's in Europe. I forget which country. She's in Austria, one of those countries. But I really like her work, and we collaborate well with each other. You know, she takes, you know, when we give her points, she takes them and she adjusts the illustration. So we have a very good working relationship, you know. So that's how that works. And
no,
I mean,
I think it's a real talent, or it's very important, I should say, to match the tone of the book to the style of the illustrator, and I think it was done perfectly with this one.
Yeah, definitely. And I was saying that collaboration, when you find someone that you work well with that is open-minded, it's and it works. I just keep working with people like that, with personalities that the egos don't get in the way, and we can just go back and forth, and we can work together in that way.
Yeah. Now, did you put this together during the pandemic? Were you guys doing it virtually?
Yeah. So listen, the whole thing happened during the pandemic, right? So I'll give you the how everything started. So my kids always wanted a dog, and I grew up with dogs, but we never had a dog since I have these younger kids. So there's four children. It's Isaiah, Gideon, Judah, and Abraham. And for years they've been like pestering us for a dog. And my wife always was like, "No, I can't. Having a dog is like having another child.
Yeah.
No dog, no dog." So eventually I was like, you know what? I'm putting my paws down. We get the dog.
Yeah. It's
No.
awesome. It's awesome. The kids love dogs.
Right, except that when they don't have to take care of the dogs, then
Yeah.
they have a dog. No, what happened was that, so we got a dog right before the pandemic. Like before we even knew there was a pandemic, we got a dog. And so the pandemic hit, and we had a dog, and it was like crazy for a few weeks.
Uh-huh.
But my daughter named him Romeo, and he has such a personality, a very human-like kind of personality and eyes. And so he inspired me to write this song, and I'm inspired by things that happen around me, by nature, dogs, dragonflies, butterflies, trees. So it was very natural for me to write a song about this dog because he's just inspiring.
Okay, so so you guys got the dog right before the pandemic.
Right before.
And then then the dog inspired you to write the song.
Yes.
And then that was on More Family Time.
Right, because
that came out when? When did More Family Time come out?
More Family Time came out like October, something like that, I think. Late last year.
Okay.
And that was done during the pandemic period, and that was a very interesting experience too, because we collaborated with Ben Harper, Sheryl Crow, a lot of people on that album, and we had to do everything virally, obviously, and so it was an experience.
Those are some great names. Who was the person who said that song needs to be a book?
Well, it was a very hard decision because there's so many songs that I thought would be such cool books for kids, but we thought that because the kids were so connected to the dog and they wanted a dog that, and children love dogs, as you said, we think that would be a good way to, express the story using that song to express something for the children. We thought that would be one of the best songs to use.
Oh yeah. It really kind of lends itself. It's so great. And again, the tone of the song, which is really fun and catchy. If you haven't heard it, you should go check it out, or get the album. But the illustrations really perfectly fit the song. And what kind of art direction do you give the illustrator on these books? Did you say, go to town, just do whatever you want, or were you very specific on the style and tone that you wanted?
Well, the style, since we kind of went through the preliminary styles before, on the last book. So she has a style down, but in particular, we wanted to make sure the characters were inclusive of and represent a wide variety of people, races, and different ethnicity. And so that was a very specific thing that we wanted to do. And we had to, make sure that was a part of the conversation. Let's make sure we include a lot of different people of color and ethnicity in this book,
And since she lived in Austria, she didn't know anything about that, so you had to kind of school her.
Yeah,
Austria is not the most diverse country.
No, it's true. We had to. There was a couple back and forth about pointers,
Yeah. No, kids love dogs, and I've been bugged for years to get a dog, but we've resisted. So
How old is your kid?
We have 7.
7.
We have a big family. Yeah, so 22 down to 4-year-old.
I have 7 too.
Oh, hey, all right. How old's your oldest?
My oldest is like 32. Yeah.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to jump on me.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the favorite children's books in your household, Ziggy, that the kids have loved over the years?
Over the years, there was this one. There was what's his name? My little cat guy, the Siamese cat.
Oh,
What's his name? I forget his name. You know, he thinks he's a cat, but he's a dog. The Chihuahua.
oh,
My Chihuahua friend there.
yes, isn't that Sam? No, I know what you're talking about. Is he blue? He's blue, right?
No, man. Man, what's his name? El Chiquito, and he sings it. That one's a favorite. And then there was some very old school one like the Giving Tree. There's a Giving Tree.
Oh, that was my favorite. The Giving Tree was my favorite kids book. Children's book. Shel Silverstein.
Yeah, that one is pretty. I mean, that one is deep too, although it's a children's book. You know, it have real good meaning. Yeah. And then there's the Good Night Moon one, the Good Night Moon, that series also.
Yes.
So those were some of them. And then there was some by my friend what's her name again?
It's okay.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh yeah, she's done a bunch. Yeah.
Jamie, she had one called The Human Race, which we liked a lot. So and she reads a book on the albums too that I did for kids. So yeah, those are some of our favorites.
Oh
so,
yeah, those are classics. I love The Snowy Day. Did you know that one? The Snowy
I don't know
Day.
that one. No.
Yeah, you should check that out. The illustrations in that are so cool, and they really inspired me when I was starting my first kids books. So okay, so you have collaborated with your wife on a book called Little John Crow.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's coming out in November.
Yes.
Right. So tell us about that, the origin of that, Orly's process there. So
all right. So let's see. So that book. So My Dog Romeo is for reading to like your 4, 2, 3-year-old younger kid. Little John Crow is gonna be a little bit older, skewed for like 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, even a 10-year-old.
Yes.
And Little John Crow. So I grew up in Jamaica in an area called Bull Bay, and we would always see turkey vultures. They were always around that area where we lived, and we were always very mean to them. Actually, we never liked them much, And so I grew up around these vultures, and then as I grew, I learned to understand the importance of these animals, these birds, to the whole ecosystem. Even though we look at them as kind of dirty because they eat dead animals, right? But I've kind of learned the importance of them, and then as we started to write the story about a vulture who didn't want to be a vulture because his friends thought vultures were dirty.
Yes.
And so then my wife would sit in bed and, it took us years to really come up with a story, but it kind of came, we kind of finished it last year. And it's just about being yourself and other people accepting you for who you are, and the importance of understanding that each of us have a purpose in this life that we live. Everyone has a purpose, So that's what the story is about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a great message. It's a great message, and I don't want to spoil too much, but it does have a happy ending.
Yeah.
I was a little worried. I was a little worried there when I was reading it, but it has a great happy ending, and that has a different style, of course, than My Dog Romeo. Different illustrator, but also another talented illustrator. I was noticing. I like those illustrations a lot. Now, how did you find Gordon?
Gordon, well, yeah, we did want to go with a different vibe on this one, right? Because it's more adult, and we wanted it to be a little bit more weighty, a little bit more. There's comedy and there's a little bit more darkness to it, too, also in some spots, and we wanted it to be a little bit more mature. Because the message in it, I think, is not only for kids but for adults, for everyone to get. And so we look for some illustrators. We got a different bunch of examples of illustrations, and we choose Gordon. he's a black artist in Canada, and we liked his vibe. It's not like, it's kind of artistic, but still characterish, you know? So we like that. Yeah.
No, they were good. And in fact, he did it in a way that the book, the story and the illustrations, it kind of reminded me of something that could be turned into maybe a kid's movie. You know?
Yeah, well, that's always a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, I want you to get your manager to look into that.
All right.
So how was that? How was that working? No, so did you have to educate your wife on the vultures in your homeland and how they kind of worked into the ecosystem, or did she kind of read about that on her own, or how did kind of that process?
Yeah, I had to tell her about my upbringing, right? I had to tell her that I grew up around turkey vultures, and we call it, I don't know why we in Jamaica we call them John Crow. I don't know what the origin of it is, but that's what we call it. Hey, there's a John Crow, they are John Crow. I don't know what the origin is of it, but that's where that's coming from. So I had to give her a little history lesson of how I grew up and what was around me when I was growing up at the time. And also we had to do some research to find that vultures are a part of a species that we are concerned about in terms of endangerment. Because they are so important to the ecosystem, you know, that we don't want them to be wiped off the face of the earth. It would be terrible for the planet, basically. So we have to educate ourselves a little bit about that, and also educate ourselves about the history of this bird that was once glorified, and now it's kind of demeaned in some ways, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, vultures and condors are some of the scariest looking birds out there. But no, I thought it was really cool the way you turned them into the main characters of a book, you know, and had a great message behind it. So, really great. Little John Crow, out in November.
Yes.
By Ziggy Marley. And so, was there a lot of contention between choosing the right words and paragraphs with you and your wife? Was there arguments, or was it so smooth, easygoing, you know, process?
No, I mean, there was arguments, but it wasn't like, it was just she is, you know, she can help me to form the sentences, or form the story in a better way than I would normally do it. So, and you know, as a mother, she has a connection, a strong connection to the kids, and she was in child education also when she was younger. She used to teach preschool, so her experience in that in those things helped me to how I would tell a story to a child. How would a child? Because it's not like my Dog Romeo where I'm taking a song. This is not a song. This is a story that you have to create out of your head now. And so it was very important for her to guide me and work together with me so that I could speak in a way that children can understand it, and you know, parents can read and still find some level of like accepting it as an adult too, and not, oh, this is a children's book, so it just read like a children thing. But an adult can read it and still feel, you know, some connection to it in that way, you know?
Yeah, totally. And Ziggy, I've just been told by my editor, he chimed in and he said that the character we were trying to come up with was Skippy John Jones. Is that
Skippy
it?
John Jones.
Yeah.
No, I read that to my son. And I love those stories too, man. Listen, as I said, I have a child mind. So I'm just as like, because it's all about imagination, you know, with these books, and I really enjoy reading them.
Yeah. Now, do any of your kids, are they getting into graphic novels? Because those are popular now too, where you could tell a longer story with pictures.
Yeah, I'm into graphic novels. My older son is into graphic novels, and my 10-year-old, he's reading like novels now, like, you know, with less photos and more words. So but I'm big into graphic novels. I love graphic novels.
Yeah, they're increasingly popular, and they're working their way down. So now they have graphic novels for 4 to 8-year-olds.
You haven't checked that. I need to check that. I haven't checked that out. I never even really know that, really.
Yeah, it's kind of a new thing. I mean, middle grade graphic novels have been around for a while, but it's becoming, it's getting younger and younger.
Oh, cool. All right.
Like this one, right? I just happen to have one right here. Narwhals on our front. The Narwhal and Jelly series is popular too for any readers out there. But anyway,
check it out.
So when I would create my children's books, it would inspire my kids. I would be at the kitchen table working on an illustration with my pens and pencils and colored paints, and then my kids would go and get their crayons and stuff, and they would start coloring around me because Dad was drawing, so they wanted to be like Dad. So has the artistic has the creation of these books between you and your wife, has that rubbed off on your kids? Are they trying to write or draw kids' books?
That's the one thing I wish I could illustrate. Man, I'm jealous. I wish I could. Man, I wish I could draw.
Oh, I bet you could. I
could do the stick figures, but I wish I could, man. In my imagination, that would be my biggest dream, for figure out how to illustrate. Yeah. Oh, that would be so sweet. But
no, you should try it. Just try it.
I do try it. I mean, I've been trying it. I've been trying it from I was in high school, but no.
Well, I think that everyone has a cool artistic style. They're just kind of afraid to put it out there to the world. But everyone, and it's all about the idea. Even the worst artists could have the best idea. Gary Larson. Did you ever read the Far Side by Gary Larson? Those cartoons. You've probably seen them.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, you've probably seen it. But he was so funny, but he was a terrible artist. And Shel Silverstein, who wrote The Giving Tree, I mean, he was not exactly Rembrandt, but his ideas were so wonderful. So anyway, I think the world is hungry for a Ziggy Marley illustrated. Okay, so Ziggy, what else?
I was saying my 10-year-old, he writes poems, he writes too, and he illustrates pretty good. I was looking at some stuff that he was doing. I said, "You did this?" I'm like, "Wow, it's really pretty good for his age, and better than me, I would say."
Oh, that's cool. My 10-year-old too, Kate, is our most creative kid. It's fun to see it, and they produce things, and you can't believe that they did it. Sometimes.
Yeah, true.
So what else? What's on the horizon? What have you got in the hopper? I'm sure you're always working on a project. Are you working on maybe another kid's book or an album? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, not an album. I just did some re-records. I just put out a single a couple of weeks ago called "Lift Our Spirits, Raise Our Voice," and we have some more songs coming out soon. I'm doing a show in San Diego at Petco Park. A tribute to my father, May 30th, I think it is.
Oh, that's coming up, May 30th at Petco.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, and then I have a graphic novel idea in my head, and I actually started doing a treatment for it a couple of nights ago. I'm working on it.
Oh, cool. What age group?
Older, like a mature adult graphic novel. Yeah.
Okay, kind of like Walking Dead level. Really, kind of.
Yeah. Not like
edgy,
that. No.
Pretty? No.
Just like a superhero graphic novel.
Oh, superhero. Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
So I will send you some samples of my work, and you can consider it for the illustrations.
Yes, please.
No, I'm joking.
No, me, I need to check you out. I want to check you out, man. I gotta check you out now.
Yeah, no, but I'm actually working on graphic novels, here and there for middle grade.
For middle grade.
For middle grade, because I have these boys who just won't read, and it really seems to be the only way to get them to open up a book and get away from a screen.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started. I started with comic books. I mean, I was a big comic book fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, All right. Well, you've got this book here, My Dog Romeo, which is fantastic. And this is your third. Okay.
Yeah.
Were the other two books with the same publisher or a different publisher?
Same publisher.
Okay.
What do you mean? Akashi, yeah? Akashi, yeah.
Yeah, Akashi. And then you and your wife, Orly, have Little John Crow coming out in November.
Yeah, that's already up for pre-order, so yeah, people can check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now I think we are about ready to take some questions from people.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ziggy, what was your favorite comic book? Can you read that?
Oh yeah, I see it. From Abby. Hey Abby, what's up? My favorite comic book was all those Marvel DC comic books. That's what I used to read. And the funny thing is, my father used to love comic books too, which I didn't really know until one of his friends told me, hey, they used to read a lot of comics. But there were these comics from England. There were little small comic books, and they were about World War II.
Oh.
There was World War II. It was in black and white too. It wasn't colored. I remember having some of those too as kids.
Oh.
So yeah, I was into all those comic books growing up.
Oh, so it was kind of like historical comic books to teach kids about the war.
Well, it was about the war, but I think they were showing the British soldiers as the heroes, right? So it was like I don't know if you want to call it like propaganda. Yeah. You know, it was like a Captain America type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Britain getting those comic books into the kids of Jamaica, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, they were really. I've never seen those anywhere else either.
Yeah,
I've never seen those. Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah. I liked Mad Magazine growing up. Did you ever look at Mad?
Yeah, I used to love Mad, of course.
Yeah.
Mad.
So it really helped me, I think, on my path to making fun of people as a cartoonist. Yeah.
Spy versus Spy. They got Spy
versus Spy. Absolutely. Yep. Love them. All right, let's see. What else? Do we have any more questions? Here's one. If you were stuck on a desert island with one book, what would you bring with you? And then album. Oh, this is a good question. So what's the book?
What's the book I would bring with me? My first thing come to my mind is like the Bible or a spiritual book. I mean, if I'm stuck, I need something spiritual, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, so I need some inspiration, I need some faith, I need something spiritual. So it'll be a book like that, something with spirituality in it.
You can't beat the Bible for spirituality.
Yeah, and stories. I mean, fantastic stories. You know what I'm saying? Like incredible stories. Those were some of the first superheroes. You know, Moses and those guys. They were super.
And how about album? What album would you bring with you?
I don't know. How would I have an album on a? What I would have my MP3 player or something with me. I don't know. I'm not sure how that would work. I would probably make an album.
Yeah. There you go. That would be cool. That would be actually very cool to be stuck on a desert island for you with just recording equipment, right? And piano, guitar, some drums. No one to bother you. I know I would love that. I'd love to be, as a creative person, I would love to be stuck on a desert island with all the art supplies around me and a nice desk.
Wow.
I would love it. My album, I don't know what I would pick. I mean, I would get sick of anything after 2 or 3 listens, in a month.
I mean, for me, it's like, listen, for me, and the way as I tell you, childlike imagination, right? So for me, everything is music, right? So if I was stuck in a place, I mean, the ocean, there's so much sounds I can get from being on a deserted island that I would make my mind make it into music.
Yes.
Basically. You know, so that's how I am. You know, I hear everything and I listen to everything and I can make it using my mind powers. I can make it to what I want it to be. You know.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Any more questions? Let's see. Oh yeah, who is an author that you admire and why? You mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis for kids' books. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, I like Jamie Lee stuff. It's significant. It have meaning to it. Again, but you know, it's funny because when I read books, I hardly look at who the author is. I hardly like try and remember that. Like, oh, let me see who the author is. I don't really. That's not something I remember. I try and I read a story. I don't even. Most of the times, honestly, I don't even care who authored it. If I like, you know. But there again, I have to go back to the Bible because one of my favorite authors in the Bible is David. He writes a Psalm of David, and it's songs. He's a musician and he writes these songs, and that's one of my favorite thing to read in the Bible. And I've always said that to myself that he was my favorite author, and it's not. I'm not saying it just because it's really true. I really like his work. I would say. And because my name is also David, I find some kind of like connection with that too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And I love the song Hallelujah, which features King David, right? Hallelujah. So now, do you have young artists coming up to you for advice all the time? And is there someone? I mean, you must. And is there someone that you're kind of proud of that you kind of, years ago gave some advice to or kind of helped along, and then they blossomed into, a talented professional? Is there anyone out there?
I don't know. I mean, everybody. I mean, there's nobody specifically that I can remember. Like, hey, I told this guy, it's this or this girl, this, and then, they became this or became that. In my everyday life, I interact with people, and that is what I look on to see. That is where I want to make my impact, just in my everyday relationship with different human beings. Whether it be driving in a car and giving somebody, hey, come, you could go, and they say, oh well, that was a good deed by a good person, or simple, very simple things like that is how I see my impact on humanity. It's simple things.
Paying it forward.
Yeah.
So if someone came up to you, a young musician, and said, hey, I want to get my songs out there to the world. The music business is different than it was 10, 20 years ago. What would you tell them today?
I mean, I tell them it's tough. It's tough. I'll be realistic with them, and and it's so different for me than it would be for them. So I would say, like, listen, my part is not necessarily your part. What do you want? And what are you willing to give for what you want? So that is the most serious question as an artist. Like, what are you willing to give for what you want? For me, for my part, I would tell them to listen. This was my part. All right, I was true to who I am. I was true to my art. I create art. I don't follow other artists. I don't try and follow trends. So to be a true artist, you take from every little thing, but that doesn't mean you follow them and try and recreate what somebody's created. Every music influenced me. I take from every music, but I do not try and copy somebody else's thing just to have a hit or just to be played on a radio station or what. I do what I feel. And subconsciously, all of those influences come out of me without me having to consciously say, oh, let me copy that specific thing from that person, or let me copy this. So I would say don't copy. Be influenced, but don't copy, and be a true artist and express yourself and try and be unique. Try to be unique,
Yeah. I give that similar advice to young artists and cartoonists who come to me too. you know. It's funny, when you're young, you really do gravitate towards other people's styles, and you kind of look like their styles, you know, starting out. But over time, you have a bunch of multiple influences, and you find your own path. You find your own creative path. You know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the people that came before us is an influence on us, of course.
Yeah,
you know, it's automatic. It's natural. So we do take from what has happened before.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got a couple more questions here. Next one is, what do you like about making a book that offers you a different opportunity to reach people than you can with music?
I like the creative process. Zach, I like the creative process because it takes me out of my comfort zone. It takes me out of my box, and it allows me to expand my mind. And I love doing that. I love doing stuff that I've never done before, or that makes me have to stretch.
Yeah.
You know, reach further than I did before. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard because sometimes, you know, you're writing and you're stuck. It took me years to do some of the, you know, Little John Crow, and this other idea I have in my head. Right now I'm kind of stuck. So, but I'm not, you know, I'm not going to force it. I'm gonna wait, and it's in the back of my head. It's there, and it will come out when it's time to come out. You know, so. Right. But I love doing some stuff, writing, which is takes me out of the song, the music thing, and puts me in a different mental space. For me, it's very good for my brain too. It helps my brain to keep creating those neurons that are so important.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, next one. Next question is, what was Ziggy's favorite book when he was a kid? Okay, we touched on this a bit, but what did you said? The Giving Tree and Goodnight Moon you loved? Two classics.
For my kids, that was when I was growing up. We never really, there was no favorite books. When we were growing up, I'll tell you what it was. Growing up in Jamaica in those days, it's a whole different experience, especially, you know, starting out poor as a poor family and gradually moving up in the ladder of success with my father, my mother doing music, and, you know, getting into better education, getting better access to books or whatever. Mm-hmm. But our main form of hearing stories was by my grand aunt. She would tell us stories. So it was verbal stories. It wasn't reading from a book. My aunt would tell us stories, and in Jamaica we used to have a lot of power cuts. So when there was no light, that was the time when the stories came out.
Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, right. Fire.
The lamps were lit, the little oil lamps, and come guys, let me tell you a story. And sometimes it was very scary. We call it duppy. I mean, it's ghost stories, like scary Jamaican tales. And there was stories. There was a spider called Anansi. This was a kid. There was a story about a spider, a very mischievous spider. His name was Anansi, and he would give trouble. So a lot of my childhood was verbal stories. There was no reading of books, really. It was all verbal.
Does that continue to this day in Jamaica, or are books more common? Access to libraries and books more common?
Yeah, much more common now. Much different now. I mean, it's so different now. It's really, it's so different.
Okay, interesting. Let's see. Do we have any more questions for Ziggy? Here's from Joy. What was there an event that happened to you that appears in the book? Something unique to you?
Well, I mean, in my Dog Romeo, it's all about me and his relationship. So all of that stuff is facts, right?
Uh-huh.
So
did he really try to chew on the mic stand?
Yeah, man, he does. Especially when he's a little bit older now, but when he was a puppy, it was crazy. And he always would want to go somewhere else, and I would want to go somewhere else. So all that stuff is really, I don't know if it's unique to me. That might be, everybody have that experience with dogs, you know, or puppies, you know, being mischievous and doing what they do. In Little John Crow, a lot of that story, which is very unique to me, is about the pieces of my young life, you know, like the area I grew up in is called one of the areas I grew up in is called Bull Bay. And and in my yard, you know, there's a mango trees. There was a lot of nature. There was the vultures around, all these type of animals around. So all of that stuff is coming from my true experience and my unique experience of growing up in that area with my friends in Jamaica at the time, and growing up around these turkey vultures that would be every day you see them, like we were right there and they were right there, and it was a little bit strange.
Yeah, I'll say. Okay, I think we have one more question, final question here. What book are you currently reading, Ziggy? From Pamela.
I'm reading a graphic novel, The Last Man.
The Last Man.
Yeah, The Last Man. It's a weird. I don't know the author, right? But I've been reading this graphic novel about there's a virus that wiped out all the men on the planet except this one guy, and then the woman took over the world, and this one guy is like traveling around trying to find his girlfriend, and it's a very interesting story. And I've been reading that graphic novel recently. Before that, I have a lot of books. I really have a lot of books, and I pick every now and again. I pick through some books and read pages. I hardly finish a book. I hardly finish one book. I'm like, okay, and then the next day I feel like, so I hardly ever finish a book.
Yep, I know what that's like. Scatterbrained artists we are, right? Okay, well, that kind of concludes the interview here. Stay with us, though. I just have some stuff to read. Ziggy, that was wonderful. That was so great.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
It was fantastic. So My Dog Romeo is released in July, but you can pre-order a copy through the Festival of Books bookstore, bookshop.org/shop/SDFOB, and you can support our indie book selling partners. Mark your calendar for the 2021 Festival of Books, August 21st, when Ziggy returns on the virtual children's reading stage to read and sing the story of love and friendship with his four-legged friend Romeo. And maybe he'll bring Romeo down from LA. Maybe he will. Oh, that really? Will Romeo make an appearance?
Oh, why not? Why I bring that?
Hey, why not? I love it. Okay, so along with Ziggy, the festival has an incredible lineup of authors for young readers, including New York Times bestselling author Jerry Craft, returning with a companion book to New Kid, Annie Burroughs with book 12 of the Ivy and Bean series, W. Bruce Cameron, famous for the novel A Dog's Purpose, and many other authors, including yours truly. You can visit the San Diego Festival of Books.com to see the complete lineup of authors and events. And I hope you enjoyed our time together with Ziggy Marley. And please don't forget to share this video, everybody. We have a couple more things here. The next Q&A author event will be V.E. Schwab on June 3rd at 12:30 Pacific time. Please consider the San Diego Council on Literacy. Visit literacysandiego.org and support literacy for all. And I think that about does it. So thank you all for hopping on and joining Ziggy and I. And make sure you check out his books, My Dog Romeo and Little John Crow.